Hey guys, welcome to the video. Salt here. Today we're going to be going over the primary shotgun Incarnon weapon, the Felarx. Now in this weapon series, I take a weapon, I build it out, and I test that weapon on its own merits, meaning I don't mix it with any kind of external factors that would increase weapon performance. That would be things like Warframes using abilities, pets putting statuses on enemies, things like that. I just test the weapon built out by itself, and I let the viewers make their own intelligent conclusions about adding those external things. All right, let's go into our little cave here, and we'll go over the top commenter of the last video. It's going to be Liam JN6ZU. The first commenter of the last video, he continues his reign of terror. It is Montero U. And our recent supporters of Toxic Sneeze, Johnny and Eddie. Thank you so much for your support. And of course, we're doing the Felarx today. Now, I wanted to give a special shout out and a thank you to my friend Grandmaster Ace. He's one of our officers in our Crusader clan. The Felarx is a very complicated weapon. There are probably about 4 to 6 different builds that are all good and are all very close to being about equal in the like kill per minutes that they do. And so without his help, it probably would have taken me a very long time to do side-by-side testing on all these different builds to come up with which one was the best. But with his help, I believe that we have found the best one. And, you know, just a little bit about Grandmaster Ace. He's been playing Warframe for a very long time. He plays at the very highest of each particular type of content. So, like for Eidolons, he does solo 6x3s. For Orifixes, he does very high round Orifixes. He does level cap, of course. Things like that. So, with his help, I believe we have found the best Felarx build. So let's go ahead and go into the arsenal here. The Felarx is going to be one of the OG Zaramon weapons. And as an OG Zaramon weapon, it comes with 5 evolution tiers. We'll go over the evolutions after we go over the mods, although I am going to show one evolution because it will describe why we are choosing certain mods. And that's going to be the 5th evolution here. This is going to be a 50% chance to deal 2,000% damage on non-critical hits. All right, so we're going to want to not critical hit. So this is going to kind of guide us in how we're building this. Okay. So the Felarx. The Felarx has a few unique and interesting things about it. The first one is, well, obviously it's an Incarnon. Its Incarnon form turns it into like these 2 semi-automatic pistols. They're good. But the Felarx is one of the unique Incarnons where most of your min-max builds actually will use the base non-Incarnon instead of the Incarnon. So just consider that the Felarx, you're actually probably going to spend most of your time in the non-Incarnon form. You're going to switch to Incarnon maybe if you have ammo issues. If you have ammo issues and you run out of ammo because maybe you're just not picking it up, then you'll switch to Incarnon, you know, and then get some kills, pick up some ammo, and then go back to the non-Incarnon. So you kind of almost play this opposite, you know? The other unique thing about the Felarx is involving Galvanized Savvy. Galvanized Savvy on the Felarx is multiplicative. On most weapons, Galvanized Savvy will be additive, but on the Felarx, it is multiplicative, which is the more powerful way it can act. Okay, I think we can finally go over the mods on the Felarx here. So we're going to have Galvanized Hell for multi-shot. We're going to have Galvanized Savvy for plus 80% status chance and plus 80% direct damage per status type affecting the target. We're going to have Shotgun Elementalist. This is going to give us plus 90% status damage and plus 60% magazine capacity. Both of these stats are very important. The plus 90% status damage is going to affect our blast that we have on the weapon. We're going to be getting a lot of our damage out of our blast, and so that's why it's very important. Shotgun Elementalist is usually a mod that is very weak in the beginning of endurance, and it starts actually pulling its weight and getting good very far into Steel Path, almost closer to like when you're getting to level cap. And it's because dots will actually have a few seconds to tick on a target because enemies have more health. You know, starting into Steel Path and even actually well into Steel Path, enemies die too quickly to get a lot of value out of Shotgun Elementalist. However, there are 2 elements that have after death effects. And so it doesn't matter that the enemy died in 0.1 seconds. You'll actually still get the value out of Shotgun Elementalist while you're using those two elements. And that's going to be Blast and Gas. Blast and Gas have after death effects. Gas leaves a lingering cloud, and Blast just explodes and does AoE damage. And so that's why, because we're using Blast, Elementalist is actually a really good option. The other good thing that Elementalist does for us is it provides plus 60% magazine capacity. This is not going to make that much sense right now until we get into the evolutions, but we're going to eventually pick an evolution that refills 50% of our magazine while we have it holstered over 1 second. And that's going to combo with this magazine capacity. So, okay. Next, we're going to have Magnetic Strafe. This is the mod that we're going to be using for fire rate. So this is going to be plus 60% magnetic and plus 40% fire rate. Me and Grandmaster Ace went back and forth a little bit on this slot, and it was because he thought that maybe magnetic would water down the statuses too much, and we would get less blast, which is, technically true. By adding magnetic, you will get less blast. Although it is not a huge weighting, it's only 114, but you are adding, more elements to a pool where you really want blast most of the time. But I think at the end of us going back and forth, I think we both agreed Magnetic Strafe is decent because shotguns don't really have great fire rate mods. Most of their mods are just fire rate, and that's pretty much it. And so at least this gives you something. This gives you an extra magnetic. This weapon does have multiplicative gun CO, and so you will get more value out of that with the multiplicative gun CO by having magnetic. But I think this is also a very easy slot to eventually just put a Riven over. If you get a Riven that has fire rate, this is a very easy slot to just plop it right over. Don't even worry about it. You don't even have to replace the magnetic if you don't want to. Okay, let's continue on here. We're going to have Scattering Inferno, which is the 60-60 heat. And we're going to have Primed Chilling Grasp, which is the 165 cold. This is going to be making our blast. The reason we go for the Primed Chilling Grasp here instead of the 60-60 cold is because we want our blast weighting to be high. So if we look at our status chart here, our blast weighting is 427, which is much higher than all of the other weightings for the statuses here, which is perfect. We want blast to happen more often than all of the others. In the next two slots, we're going to be going for our corrosive. So we're going to do the 60-60 electric, and we're going to do the 60-60 toxin to make corrosive. Now, this is these two slots are where me and Grandmaster Ace, we differed in our opinions. So I'll explain what I believe first, and then I'll explain what his thought was. I think we actually have both good opinions on what should be here, and so I just want to explain both of them. So mine is corrosive. I like corrosive because you get to use two 60-60s, which gives you more status chance, of course. You get 120% status chance altogether. And you get corrosive. Corrosive is a very powerful element that works the best on the hardest enemies in the game, which are the Grineer. And that's why I like corrosive. It also is really good on Murmur enemies, but that's only one specific piece of content. So yeah, that's corrosive there. Now, his thought on these two slots, which I think is also a good thought, is this right here. It's just electric. Now, the positives to just using electric instead of using the combined element of corrosive is that electric actually combos better with Shotgun Elementalist because this actually gives you status damage. Corrosive doesn't do any status damage, but electric does. So not only now is your blast benefiting from Shotgun Elementalist, but sometimes when you produce a electric status, this will also be benefiting from Shotgun Elementalist. The other positive to this is also that you get a free mod slot. So how we were saying, this could be a Riven slot. Well, now this is a very, very, very easy Riven slot. You could just put a Riven over here and you're completely fine. Or you can go with Prime Point Blank and choose a different arcane too. That's also a possible option. So I think his opinion on these slots here also has very good merit. Now, the negatives to his choice here is that you lose 60% status chance that you would get by using the other 60-60. And obviously that you lose corrosive. Corrosive, I think in general is better than shock, although you could probably make the argument shock with elementalist might be about the same. So I think both are good. I think you can make that decision on your own if you want to go corrosive here, or if you want to go with electric and have a free mod slot. So I'm going to go back with my corrosive. Okay. In the Exilus slot here, we're going to go for Galvanized Acceleration. Galvanized Acceleration is going to increase the damage we do at range. So shotguns have this fall-off stat, which means that they do less damage the farther you're shooting an enemy out at. And Galvanized Acceleration increases the damage fall-off, basically. So you'll be doing greater damages at like medium ranges. And in the Arcane slot, we're going to be going for Primary Deadhead. We're going to be going for Primary Deadhead because we need a source of flat damage. You're always going to want at least one source of flat damage on your build. And currently we have no sources of flat damage on our in our mods. And so we're going to get that flat damage through our Arcane. The other Arcane Primary Merciless is also 360% flat damage, except Merciless gives you reload speed, which we actually don't need, because we're going to be playing the Felarx in a unique way. So we don't need reload speed at all. And so we choose Deadhead instead because we get less recoil, which is nice. The Felarx does recoil a lot. And we get plus 30% headshot multiplier. So we get a little bit extra on Deadhead rather than Merciless here. Okay, and that is how you build out the Felarx. I'm going to go over the evolutions next. Okay, first evolution is that you've just unlocked the weapon. Congratulations. Second evolution, we actually get a good choice here. There's a few really good choices. So we have plus 40% accuracy when aiming. You have negative 50% weapon recoil. And you have plus 50% projectile speed. All three of these choices are excellent. Now, because I am going with Deadhead as my Arcane, Deadhead actually has negative recoil on it already, so I don't need this negative recoil at all. But just consider if you were going for a different Arcane for some reason, Kinetic Baffle might actually be your choice because it does kick a lot. But because I'm going Deadhead, I can actually make the decision between accuracy when aiming or projectile speed. Both are absolutely valid. I think because I'm going for Deadhead, and because with Deadhead you want to hunt for headshots a little bit more, I'm going to go with the accuracy when aiming. But, this is also perfectly fine. In the third evolution slot, this is very important here. This is going to be Evolved Autoloader. This is going to be the choice that you need to make. This is plus 50% magazine reloaded when holstered. The reason we go with this is kind of what our entire build revolves around, is this evolution here. The Felarx is a very powerful weapon. It just has, it's not technically ammo issues, it has reload issues, basically, where you blow through the magazine and then you have to reload. And the reload's kind of slow because you're reloading one bullet at a time. Well, with Evolved Autoloader, while you have it holstered, half the magazine reloads per second. And so it only takes 2 seconds to reload the entire weapon when you have it holstered. Now, in those 2 seconds of downtime, we're going to be doing something else. We're going to be mixing the Felarx with a different secondary to at least be doing something during those 2 seconds of downtime. Most of my builds I don't mix with externals. This build, when I do the showcase, I'm going to showcase it with a secondary that will give you something to do in those 2 seconds of downtime. But just know that you don't technically need that. You would have 2 seconds of downtime. It would just be like a regular reload for a weapon. But to play this at max efficiency, you are going to be wanting to mix it with some kind of secondary that you're using in those 2 seconds of downtime. All right. We have Mounting Momentum is the other option here. Reload increases fire rate by plus 10% per shell. Resets on reload. This is kind of a weird one. I don't like that your fire rate is different sometimes. Dual Mode Chamber. Reload toggles weapon between 100% projectile speed and 4 meters of punch through. I don't like the inconsistency with this. That sometimes it's punch through, sometimes it's not. I guess it's okay, but I just don't like the inconsistency of it. Our entire build, though, does really revolve around Evolved Autoloader, and you need to be picking this if you're going to be going for our build. Fourth evolution. Racking Wraith. This is the one we're going to be picking because, again, we're going for a negative crit build. We don't want to be critting. So this gives us plus 20% status chance and negative 10% crit chance, which is actually both positive things. The other one here is Headshots build plus 50% more Incarnon Transmutation Charge. This is garbage. You would never pick this on any of the builds. And then Brutal Edge. This would be the pick if you were going for a crit Felarx, which we're not. We're not going for a crit Felarx. But if you were, for some reason, making your own build, Brutal Edge could be good if you're going for a crit setup. But Racking Wraith is what we are picking here. Going to go to the fifth evolution here. Fifth evolution we are picking is going to be the Devastating Attrition. Plus 50% chance to deal 2,000% damage on non-critical hits. The other options are on punch through of 3 enemies, plus 70% ammo efficiency for 20 seconds. This is okay. Like, you know, this does help to mitigate the blowing through of the magazine and then having to reload. So I think if you were going for more of a crit-focused build, like Ruptured Plenitude would probably be the pick for you. And then the other one here, Agile Executioner, gain 50% ammo efficiency while aim gliding and sliding. This is a little bit niche. So I probably wouldn't pick this one. If you're going to go for a crit build, pick Ruptured Plenitude. But for us, we're going to be going for Devastating Attrition. Okay. And before we go over this in the gameplay, I want to explain how you're going to be playing the Felarx. So remember, this plus 50% magazine reloaded when holstered. So it's going to take 2 seconds, 2 full seconds, for us to completely refill our magazine. So like that's going to be our reload time, basically, is those 2 seconds. In those 2 seconds, because we have to be holstered, we're going to be switching to our secondary, which we're going to be using the Epitaph. The Epitaph shoots out like these balls that explode and provide one of each basic element, as well as whatever you put on the weapon, which we're going to put, I believe, I think I have it set for viral and radiation. It doesn't really matter. You can set it for whatever the hell you want. I think viral is probably like one of the better things to be setting it for, though. I don't even think I've gone over this since the magnetic mods have come out, so you might want to throw magnetic on here too. Although our Felarx, because of that fire rate mod, has magnetic. But on testing, when you holster your Felarx, you're gonna have enough time to shoot the Epitaph about 2 to 3 times. I think 3 is more consistent. So you shoot the Felarx, you shoot the Epitaph 3 times, and then you're able to go back to the Felarx. You're at full ammo. And when you go to shoot the Felarx, the enemies you're shooting at have statuses on them already from the Epitaph, and because the Felarx is multiplicative gun CO, you get a lot of value out of that. So, if you've been following me for a while, I really don't like mixing my builds with external sources. I try to just like go in dry with just the weapon that I'm modding out. So consider when I show the gameplay off that you could technically do this without, you know, the Epitaph or without any secondary. It's just that you would literally have 2 seconds of downtime where you weren't doing anything, which is still okay, but mixing it with the secondary is going to be better. And it doesn't have to be the Epitaph. You could use, you know, go through the secondary list and find a secondary that might be cool to shoot like a couple of shots and then switch back to your Felarx. The Azima might be really cool. Like it shoots out those little turrets that kind of spin around. Like the Azima might be a good option here. There's probably some other like weird niche options. Let me know what you think that you would want to maybe just shoot like 1 or 2 shots of your secondary and then switch back to your Felarx. Maybe there's something else that gets more value. So, all right. Yeah, well, I think we'll show this in gameplay here. I'm on Steel Path. I am on Solo. We're going to go on Mott. And before I even do the mission, I'm just going to kind of show how you're going to be using this.
These foes deserve your respect. Honor them with quick deaths and
All right, so let me just go ahead and dump the whole mag. So I'm, you know, shooting enemies, shooting enemies, shooting enemies. I go ahead and I go 1, 2, 3, back to this. One, bam, 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 bam. 1, 2, 3, back. Bam, 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 bam. And that's kind of like your whole rotation with this. I'm gonna give myself some ammo so I don't start half full of ammo.
They have just shut down all systems. I'm sending life support capsules your way.
I don't play a lot of holster weapons, so this I might like screw up my whole holster thing a few times. So forgive me. Not getting a lot of enemies. They're kind of stuck in this room, aren't they? I was trying a lot of different Felarx build this morning. I was trying primary crux out because I was like, oh, that could be good with ammo efficiency. It just still wasn't good enough as a thing.
My brothers, did I not tell of this day? Did I not prophesize this moment?
So basically just think of your holster time as your reload, basically. This is kind of the whole shtick with this.
It is time. I will teach these trespassers the redemptive power of my Yagasaki. They will learn its simple truth.
Tomorrow we'll do a Warframe video. I don't know exactly what Warframe I'm going to do. I really wanted to redo my Titania video because I have a perfect way to do Titania now. Over a couple of years, I think I finally perfected my Titania. And so I really wanted to get that out just to finally have Titania's final form on my channel. But I don't know if people just want to see a redo of a video. It's not technically a redo because the old video like has a couple of things that aren't min-max that I've found over time to min-max her. But it's going to be about the same minus a few differences. Oh my goodness. Why did I switch to that? I switched to my Incarnon mode. Get out of Incarnon mode. I pressed that, like, by accident there.
This death is temporary. My existence is forever. I cannot be destroyed.
So I'm really thinking on of Titania tomorrow. I just don't know if people would be excited about that, like me making another Titania video when I already did one like a few months ago. He's got Zephyr Shield on. That's what it is. Oh my goodness, Mania's beating me up here. Yeah, there, Mania. Where is he? Oh, he's right there. If you play this weapon a lot, you'll probably be a little bit smoother on the like transition from Epitaph to Felarx. I'm not super smooth with it. If you've noticed, I'm probably shooting the Epitaph a little bit more than 3 times sometimes, or a little bit less than 3 times. Where 3 times really is kind of like the magic number where the weapon should be fully reloaded by the time you switch back. I should also probably just show the Epitaph off real quick afterwards. Although it's not really that important. The Epitaph, even if you don't really have it built out appropriately, you'll still get a lot of value by just shooting it. I think the Felarx is a weapon that will do very well in extremely high-end content, like level cap, but you can't really show its strength in this lower content. Like, I think a lot of assault rifles might kind of get the same kill count as the Felarx in early content, but they're not going to hold up in, like, level cap, where the Felarx would do amazing at level cap. So just consider that, too, that it might do better at level cap rather than starter endurance.
Support levels. Extraction is your best option.
I actually think I have a Epitaph primer video already up, I'm pretty sure. It might be slightly different now, because now there's a mod that puts magnetic in one slot, so you might also add that mod to the Epitaph primer, but it'll basically be about the same. You just may add that one extra mod to it. Although we do technically have magnetic on our weapon here. All right, that is
Hold out as long
10
as you
minutes.
can.
We're at 642 kills. That is well above average. It didn't hit the excellent numbers. You know, the excellent numbers would be closer to 900. That would be like things like the Toward and stuff. But again, I think this weapon doesn't necessarily show its full power until you're at very high-end content. Because consider, you know, when you're priming with the Epitaph here, and then you go to the Felarx, these are all multiplicative hits that are probably right now in early content, like super overkilling these enemies, where you'll get a lot of value out of that at level cap.
Your will was greater. This is good.
Or not necessarily level cap, but just once enemies are probably like a few thousands levels high, you get more value out of extremely high damage weapons and shots. Alrighty, that was the Felarx. That's done there. If you liked the video, consider giving it a like. If you haven't subbed yet, consider subbing or tell me what I can do to earn your sub. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. All right, bye.